I call myself speaker, has been made extremely easy by a very, very good MC. So, a round of applause for him. Excellent. Young man, but fantastic quality as MC. Ladies and gentlemen, Tuan Mas Kadi, Dato' Abang Karim, President Sarawak Chamber of Commerce. Representatives from, he said, new baby, just born last year, I think, Petros. So, fellow, with a very, very big welcome, and we are extremely happy that being the first such seminar held in Sarawak by an NGO and our collaborating partners, we found that the response was extremely good. And it is my hope, because why we organized this seminar and why Miri was picked is very well covered in the souvenir book. Please take your time to read the message from our Yang Amat Hormat Chief Minister. He speaks very, very loudly on why this seminar is organized, why Miri is picked. I don't want to go through that because it is just repeating. Ladies and gentlemen, we are extremely happy. I think for that we have to say a very, very big thank you to Petronas. I would say all these people grew big. They're all big ones because of Petronas. So today, very emotional, and I would like to mention to the giant people, Petronas and Petros, the new baby. Please do not take personal some of the very emotional outbursts. It is not exactly the outburst, it is just very emotional. No, because imagine this is the first time we are organizing a seminar. And this is the first time we found that the state government is fully behind us. Last time we only had Petronas behind us. So this time we have Petronas and definitely they're all Sarawak companies, consisting of very established oil and gas companies, medium size and the smaller size. I would have to apologize to you all because we managed to squeeze in only 25 booths, simply because the space did not allow us to expand. So we received a lot of requests to set up booths. And look very obvious, but what it says is now or never. So now you know is the black one, it refers to the black code. And the red one is the warning to all of us. If you don't take action now, that will be the situation. Never, never. And then the other part is the tagline. Where is the tagline? Sorry, take us up to read from this tagline. So basically, it is in the souvenir front page. Sarawak, able, capable, willing. So it is in this function that we will have to address this. Are we ready? Are we really willing? Or we just want to follow the tide? Okay? So ladies and gentlemen, I have been given a very strong warning by people standing up there with signboard, 1 minute, and now they say stop. So again, I wish to thank all of you for your presence and wish you all a very happy seminar. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Tuan Haji Abdul Kadir Sahib.
Hey guys, I need my spec. Good morning, everyone. Tuan Haji Kadir made all the introductions. I don't need to repeat it. So I'm going straight to the point. I'm a local boy, very much a Miri. I'm looking around at the moment, scanning who's here. All right, those in Kuching I know very well, especially all the big guns on Kuching. I myself actually bought quite a long time to shell myself. All right, I would like to tell you that I am very, very pleased to be part of SOGSE 2019 organizing committee. Done very well, a good job, very well done. spearheaded by, of course, the chairman of our efforts for the past few years, as well as the start of new directions in the oil and gas for Sarawak. SPG in the early beginning, when we started way back in 2015, we got registered a year later, officially, as a body, with the support of the then Ministry of Industrial Development Sarawak, the Government of Sarawak, to regulate and manage Sarawak oil and gas resources, so that we can all work together towards achieving economic parity, future generations of Sarawak. It is the core organizer's fervent hope that SOGSE 2019 will play a big role in this very journey, so that we can start to rectify the past 40 over years of neglect and poor in Sarawak oil and gas industry. So much so that some other states in Malaysia who has no oil and gas resources has overtaken us and left us behind. It is certainly important for the development of our nation that Sarawak, being one of the richest regions in terms of as we speak. As we speak, we were talking about ammonia, we were talking about hydrogen, but we still have these resources for which we need to develop. I also wish to thank all who have contributed one way or the other in making SOGSE 2019 a success, with the hope that the foundation laid by the exposition, deliberations and resolutions of SOGSE 2019 will be put to good use in bringing economic prosperity and parity.
Further ado, please welcome Deputy Chairman, Organising Committee of SOGSE 2019, Tuan Haji Hamim Yusof.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Ooh-ha! So, I tried to follow closely the advice from our chairman of the Organizing Committee, Haji Kadir, who actually said that let's not get emotional today. I know some guys get fired up later in the day, but it's okay. We are the cool Sarawakians, I suppose. Okay. Can we start? Just a minute. Product. Okay. I'm going to do the introduction today, and basically, as you know, in this untuk Sarawak, I'm a true blue Sarawakian. Like Jamel, I'm born in Tutong, and every morning what we normally hear is a whistle coming at 7 o'clock sharp while we walk to the school. And that happened most of the time. For the next, sorry. Okay, next. I'm going to talk a bit about SPG this morning. Allow me to, I'm honored to stand here as the past president and the first we are among the group homegrown talents of Sarawakians. Kami anak Sarawak di dalam petroleum industry. So I will allow me to say something about SPG. We have been labeled as radicals by certain quarters. Today I appear in front of you all. We are not. We are not. We are a group of oil and gas professionals from Sarawak who are united in our vision of a better future for the state. We can catch up with the mainstream development of the nation. we are particularly concerned about the sustainability and the generativeness of the current national petroleum exploitation policies and strategies, and are determined to redress the imbalances in. This is our mission, to provide professional advice and services to maximize Sarawak's socio-economic benefit and safeguard its right in the oil and energy industries for its present and future generations. Next, please. Okay. SPG was registered with the SSM on the 19th February, and we were officially launched in Miri by YB Dato' Ama Jawang Tengah on the 5th of March. That's why Miri is chosen for the inaugural SOGSE. Next. Okay, this is our board members. You have heard just now our president, Jamil Ibrahim, and these are the rest of the members that we have in the 2018 and 2020 board members. Next. Okay. We have been very active in terms of publications, and some of our articles and publications are in our website as well as in our Facebook. One of the things that we always say, as far as SPG is concerned, we anchor ourselves on the principle, on the pillar principle that the petroleum resources in Sarawak must be managed in a way that benefits the entire Sarawak citizen. And as an independent grouping of oil and gas professionals, our philosophy is to work collaboratively with national and state policy makers, regulators, industry players, and others to promote a healthy and equitable national ecosystem, which will promote the best utilization. You know, we have a lot of gas here, and value creation from the state resources towards achieving the common interests of Sarawak and the nation. Next year, about Miri particularly, where 109 years before, oil was discovered in Miri in 1910. And as you can see here, Miri oil field officially discovered and operated by Sarawak Oilfield. And in 1913, crude export started. And important milestone here in 1914 and 1918. To my surprise, when we look into the history, Sarawak contributed petroleum products to the British war effort in the First World War, through our first refinery in Lutong. And in 1940, Miri oil field produced 7 million barrels of oil. And during the World War, in 1941 and 1945, Lutong refinery was operated by the Japanese occupiers. Next. Okay. As you see in the caption there, Miri losing out as an oil and gas town. I have quoted from George Santayana something that about history. Those who cannot remember the past are condemned to repeat it. So something we should learn today, and hopefully from the deliberation that we have, we must remember that we need to make Miri great again. And I would like to stress here that there is a milestone that we all should remember. The earliest Shell refinery was in Lutong. Shell oil refinery was among the earliest refinery in Southeast Asia. All right? In 1974, this is a very, I would say, the game changer, where the Petronas Petroleum Development Act was passed in Parliament, and that day where our rights and resources was taken away via the device of the Petroleum Development Act 1974. Although it was passed in Parliament, however, we believe that it did not follow a substantive provision of the federal constitution. It was never approved by our state legislature, the Sarawak legislature. So as things move into the late 2000, the gas business are slowly moving out from Miri away to Bintulu and the other towns in Malaysia. And Miri more or less gradually lost its luster as far as being an oil town. Next. So I give you a bit of scenario on the oil and gas recoveries from 1910 and 1980. As you can see here, Sarawak started in 1910 and we have something like 34 discoveries. Sabah started in 1971, they have 8 discoveries. Peninsular Malaysia have 22 discoveries, which they started in 1969. Okay. And when Malaysia was formed in 1963, Sarawak was the only producing state, or negara if you like, but let's leave that for another argument, okay? At another point of time. Okay, next. Okay. This was recently in Parliament. I think one of the reasons why we choose oil, now never, we thank our Minister of Economy, Dato' Azmin Ali, who mentioned in Parliament that we have 10 years of reserve left. Of course, I believe he must be backed by figures, but he never gave any basis for that. But if we are to believe him, actually Sarawak doesn't have the luxury of time to catch up with Peninsular Malaysia. So that we have actually 46% of the national gas reserve and 20% of the oil reserve. And the question that I have here for Azmin is basically, if you look at the numbers here, Azmin is saying that we have left 6.7 billion, but we have numbers from the BP, we have 10 over billions in terms of barrels of oil equivalent. So there's like 4 billion away, moving away from in about 4 years' time. Something we need to think about whether those figures are correct, and we need Azmin to perhaps explain to us what are the basis of him giving the numbers. Nonetheless, all the more reason is now on level for Sarawak. Okay, next. Okay, but again, I think moving forward, we must continue the engagement. What is the Sarawak stand on ONG? Of course, we talk about our rights, our safeguard, and basically Sarawak has delivered for national development. But the big question mark is at what price? However, I think the thing that comes from here is we must be able, Sarawak must be able to change the rules of the game. We must. Are we going to be caught in the same sandbox? Or are we going to move to another sandbox which we think will position Sarawak to its advantage? This is something that we hope during the deliberations today and tomorrow. We have to have some, we hope to generate some ideas and arguments on that. Of course, we talk about framework of future collaboration. We think that it must be multi-tiered, and we must develop our own master plan and a new model perhaps, because as we go now, our fields are getting mature and getting more difficult, and there must be a revisit of the fiscal regimes that we are operating under the current environment. And the opportunities for Sarawak and ONG is basically, we're talking about innovation, we're talking about value creation for all stakeholders. But what we hope to achieve today or tomorrow at the end of this seminar, we want to see a win-win formula. Perhaps it's about time that we forget, or I would say forget, we wouldn't be caught with the past, I call it quote, misdeeds, for example, but think about a better solution moving forward. I think it's important the stakeholders, whether it's the state government, Petronas or Petros, to think about a win-win solution. So that's something that we need to think hard, create another environment which is mutually beneficial for all parties. Next. So I finished the presentation with together we can create a win-win framework and processes to facilitate the development of Sarawak on oil and gas resources in a manner that will maximize our social, economic benefits while safeguarding our constitutional rights. Thank you, gentlemen. It's now or never. Ladies and gentlemen,
and get MA63 sorted out, get back on equal status. I'm actually very happy that the bills were shot down this week because it was a horrible bill. I'm not going to get too far into the politics, but I've been in Malaysia for almost 20 years. My wife is a Malaysian citizen. I'm a permanent resident of Malaysia. I've dealt with oil companies in 30 countries. You are free to videotape this because some of this is probably not going to be covered by the media. I already know the censorship around here. So I've been a moderator for years on international oil and gas forums. Sarawak is ready. Malaysia has basically been a net oil importing country since around 2000, and basically all of that LNG comes from Bintulu, Sarawak. Take LNG out of the picture, Malaysia is basically an oil importing country, and Malaysia's oil and gas resources are dwindling. It is long overdue for Sarawak to be in charge of its own oil and gas natural resources on an equal status with Sarawak, Sabah, and Peninsular Malaysia, the way this country was originally formed to be. Why is Sarawak an economic colony of Petronas? I told you, he warned you. I speak my mind. I'm a moderator. I'm very, very outspoken. I'm not going to say things that are, I'm not going to call names or anything, but I call them as I see them. This is only my opinion. I'm not representing any company. I'm not representing the Sarawak state government. I'm not representing the company I work for. I won't even mention it. This is my own opinion from an international point of view, and I've been doing this for years. I've written 15,000 comments about international oil and gas and a few thousand about Malaysia oil and gas. So you are free to disagree. I fully expect many people, very specifically Petronas, to disagree. I've argued with Petronas legal team before, and they've warned me before to be careful on LinkedIn. In my view, this is the proper forum to discuss anything related to Sarawak oil and gas natural resource rights. Nothing is off topic except for two particular things which had nothing to do with Sarawak oil and gas. So I will behave. I promised the moderators I would behave. Okay, back over to you, and I am a motor mouth. You'll see. If I talk too fast, tell me to slow down.
So, is that warm enough for you guys, or you want to get it out?
Thank you. I won't make any reference to the picture just now. I think some people play the big leagues in that way. But for a meaningful and robust entry into the national space, we have to bring a different form of leadership to the game. In my humble opinion, I think the process of negotiation and rejigging the whole game, resetting, or what shall we say, requires both sides to be very open. One cannot think about negotiating tactics that are good to be able to win the argument. I think that is a zero-sum game. And in that way, it's going to be a very protracted, very polarized discussion is going to take place. So, what kind of leadership am I talking about? It's something quite new that has, of late, in the last decade, I think that people have been realizing that. You've seen the movie, where people pour water in the glass, and too much water, and the glass cannot contain all that water. So if we go to the negotiating table, trying to retain the spilled water that is going out, and not increasing our size as we sit to negotiate, I think we will not come with the right answer moving ahead. It's just an analogy I give. I can explain further on this, but I'm a bit like Doctor Strange, shrouded in mystery. People always tell me, we don't know what you're thinking about. But I have some material, and at the right time, and if we do have time, I will illustrate to you where I feel the polarity of conflict that we are going to face in this game moving ahead. Something that can be a plateau for a very long time, or we might be able to overcome it, so that then we can create the new game moving ahead. And there's tons of the material already needed, the DNA in Sarawak, that is needed to actually raise the bar and raise the game. And I've met many of them. Some of you are sitting right here, I could see right in front of me. And you are the A players that they can actually bring the game further. Thank you. I'll stop there for right.
Thank you, thank you. So the A players are, you can make that difference. Tom, from a guy who's not, okay, you said you're Malaysian, blah, 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 you live in Miri, Sarawak, and someone says, Tom, I want to fight for my rights, it's mine, and these guys are wrong, and all those things. What reactions you seen in your forums? Because I've read some people say these Sarawakians are not so right, they're crazy, la la la. Good ones and not so good ones.
Sure. Peninsular is not very happy what's going on in Sarawak, and understandably, because should I talk about the national oil company status now, or should I wait till later? Later, okay. Obviously, people want the status quo. People hate change. I know this because at work I'm in the middle of global change management. People don't like things to be different. They want to go and do the same thing day after day after day. What is sorely needed, as I've mentioned and touched on before, is Sarawak, Sabah, and Peninsula control of its own natural resources. Really, really, really. Time is running out. So the comments you read in the media, in the mainstream media in Peninsula, are much different than the comments you read in the media here, for example, the Borneo Post. So different people have different opinions, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I encourage people to speak their own mind. I encourage dissent. I encourage open, healthy, vigorous debate. Don't just roll over and play dead. So go ahead and comment whatever you think. Just be ready to back up your opinions with why do you feel that way. If you want to disagree with me, that's fine. Don't just call me names. Explain why you disagree with me and come up with a proposal. That's the way I like to moderate. Go ahead.
Yes, dissent. That's not
any conflict. So if you have an expansive view about your meaning making and how you look at the world, you expect the solution to be inherent in any conflict. But if you reside lower down in your developmental scale, then obviously conflict is something to be avoided. So I urge all participants later on to raise your thinking level so that we embrace conflict. And we should actually encourage people like Tom here to raise the prickly questions. I think it was Korn Ferry who recently launched a global leadership study, and it was in 2019. And then they said that, and I have a copy of that report. Immediately it came out, I called the Korn Ferry country manager and said, please give me this report. And she told me that, she gave it to me, and I saw one thing there. It said that employees who are prickly should be the ones to be encouraged and developed in the organizations. Not the well-rounded ones who keep saying, yes ma'am, yes boss. Because these people will maintain the status quo. So if you really want to know what is needed for your future, you got to listen to these guys who just won't fit into your mold. And I remember in my years of developing leaders for the Petronas Group, in my previous life, I had actually in my last year told the leadership and management in Petronas that we need to develop the prickly people. Not keep trying to make people well-rounded, so that we have that internal engine of innovation, that internal engine that thinks not like the group think. So I feel vindicated in a way that the new study says, most of the leaders we prepare today are not ready for the future. So give a talk to them.
Thank you.
Okay, let me try and break this to you guys gently. I'm going to stand up. I can't sit. My back gets sore, and just so you guys know, I've been walking on for a long time. So here's one of the things that I would like to point out to you that is probably never really presented in the local Malaysian media. Petronas, per the PDA 1974, is the national oil company of Malaysia. So I'm posing a point-blank question to Petronas and to the Petronas legal team, and I've tangled with them before. I can get into that later if you want to talk about the whole Russia thing now. Okay, fine. As a national oil company, Petronas has gotten rich. They're a well-run company. They're a Fortune 500. They've been a Fortune 100. Where'd that money come from? Well, some of it came from Malaysia. Some of it came from overseas. Currently, Malaysia, Petronas is spending more capex overseas than it is domestically. So Petronas is sort of moving away from its national oil company status, far more towards international oil company status. So here's going to be the part that I'm asking Petronas. Petronas is the national oil company of Malaysia. Please explain to me, I'd like this in writing, please. Please explain to me why the oil and gas producing states and territories in Malaysia are among the poorest and least developed states and territories in the entire country of Malaysia. Under your leadership, under your monopoly leadership, please explain to me how you have not failed as a national oil company of Malaysia when you are not supporting the oil and gas producing states and territories of the country of Malaysia. Please answer me this. Am I hitting the nail on the head here? Okay, well, back over to you. I think I've made my point.
NOC. We also wrote a paper before that we believe, we followed examples elsewhere that as the national oil company grew, they moved away from being a national oil company and they become an international oil company. The difference there is the gray area between national interest and commercial interest. Okay? And I think that is still going to be a debate that we need to bring out. Okay? I know if there are people from Petronas, hold on, it's not the end of the story yet. This is just the beginning. So this is not Petronas bashing session, okay? Let's get that clear. Yeah? We want to just get it out so that we can discuss. Yeah? That's it. We came from...
Is embedded in history or time, and there's no change. So even though you have a set of values, actually the expression of these values will evolve over time. And I would like to mention that we need to accept the concept of a constant motion, a constant change, and not just give it lip service. Very often we have this motherhood statement, oh yes, we accept change. But then when you are presented with change and required to change, suddenly you face your mental block to say, actually, oh, that was just nice to say. But if you in your heart accept that everything around you that you see, that everything that we perceive now is in us ceasing motion, as they call it, is that whether you are clever enough to perceive it or not, or you might not be clever, but you might be actually listening with your heart. And you can see these changes happening. And this is actually part of the new sense-making that scientists are beginning to find out. We have been talking about our five senses all this time, the interplay with the physiology and the environment. But actually, this guy called Daniel Siegel, you know, who is the head of the psychiatric department, studies of psychology in the UCLA School of Medicine, he actually says that we have three more senses. One is interoceptionism, where the ability to sense the internal landscape of the body. So sometimes you feel you want to eat and you say, hey, I feel I don't want to eat. Where did that hunch come from? So this is one of the senses that people don't pay attention to. The other one is actually what we call mind sight, the ability to understand our mental states. And the third one is actually something to do with the social sensing, more to do with culture and social relational issues. So you have three more senses, but incredibly underdeveloped. The reason is we expected things to be the same as before. The same five senses, So there are some people in a very intractable position. I want things to go back to where they were. And the worst thing is that if you have been successful doing what you have been doing, my God, to get you to move your position is like moving a mountain. You know, there was one candidate who attended the interview, and the interviewer asked him, how do you move a mountain? Trick question lah. So candidate scratching his head like anything, how to answer this question? So the interviewer, seeing that he was in such a quandary, told him, earthquake lah. Only earthquake can move mountain, is it? Yes, but how many of us are willing to destroy our organizations to move this mental mountain? And I think the time is near. I'd like to leave that thought in your head. What does it take to move the invisible mountain that actually is creating a lot of problems? Because they are the plateaus that we face. We continue feeding them in the old way, continue to get diminishing returns, but we are prepared to live with it as if it is a norm. So I leave that with you. Thank you very much.
Interesting. So I'll throw that back to Tom. It's only one guy.
Yes.
Yeah. So if I know you have met Tun M before, if you were to meet him again today, what would you say?
Make Sarawak, Sabah, and Peninsular equal partners again, as per the way this country was originally made. Full stop.
I think
let's have this forum as an open discussion, no hard feeling. And I have my experience, I share my experience. Okay, basically going back to what Saudara Ami mentioned earlier on the gas reserves. Basically what Azmin was mentioning, I think his source is very relevant from Petronas, I think. And as you know, currently 2005, we have about 4,000 million scf. And the gas is fast depleting. Sorry, I have some of these here. 2005 is 4,000 million scf. By 2028, we have what the reliable source which I gathered is 1,000 million scf. 2035, which is the completion of ending of LNG 1, less than 500 million scf. Just a ballpark figures. If you talk about 500 million scf, you are talking about 50 cargoes of LNG, which will give you roughly about 6 billion ringgit per year. Okay. And by 2043, the end of LNG 3, before that, 2039, the gas will be less than 500 million scf. Of course, there will be new finding. Recently, you heard Mubadala, Shell and Charigali, which will increase maybe to another 500 million scf by 2021. Okay, just to keep briefly on that, I want to touch on the upstream gas. Because I negotiate the upstream gas for MNG 1, 2, and 3, and I lead the negotiation to purchase gas. Okay, basically my question is that you mentioned about Petronas just now. Shifting from NOC to IOC. I cannot deny that. I think, as you know, upstream business or exploration of oil and gas is a very, very risky business. Recently, you heard this Mafi pull out from Sarawak and Sabah water, taken by PTTEP. I think they want to concentrate more on Shell derivative in Texas, which I did explore that last time under Petronas. We did the Cameron project in Louisiana. Looking at another aspect of what you mentioned just now, and what Yadri was mentioning just now, are we ready to enter into oil and gas, especially involving ourselves in the industry? My answer is quite straightforward. Because we have the capable people to do it. Because most of our operators, they are the ones who are on the ground doing the job. But what we need is the higher level. One is the one who really can drive it. Now, as you know, the market is becoming more competitive now. Especially if you talk about LNG. What I want to mention here is that, I know, sorry, you want to interrupt me. I think I have to explain this because I've been keeping it. I've been telling even Chief Minister of Sarawak on all this thing. Basically, the ingredient for, because I believe that if you want to talk about upstream only, you'll never go anywhere. People who have the resources, okay, they are struggling. Okay, and yeah, can I finish this? Okay, basically what I'm trying to answer here is from my heart here, telling the people that based on my 40 years experience, are we ready? First, I look at what you mentioned, PDA 74. I don't want to talk about the nitty-gritty of PDA 74. I'm quite well versed in that. And if you look in the Facebook, I wrote a lot on this PDA 74 recently about MPA 63, and we know the issue very well. Okay, basically now is that once you are thrown in the oil and gas, either you are NOC or IOC or state OIC or whatever, then it doesn't matter. You play on the same platform, you know, and you must be ready with it.
Okay. Okay. Can I give them the chance to
answer.
Respond?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
and apa nama Facebook kita teh? All simple. Facebooknya banyak ya.
Okay. Thank you very much. Of course, there are more that I can share with you, but I think
thank you.
Sufficient for now.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your views, and I think it goes.
I think it is not right for us to put so much pressure on Petronas, because I think Petronas has contributed tremendously to the developments of the country. All those debates and so on, I believe, is more of political issues, and Petronas is not a political institution. They are a business entity. So my question is, based on the information which Tom is expert, the amount of reserve left over, if you look at it, what is your level of confidence on the truth of those figures? Because I mean, the people has been talking, depleting, but it is still very, I would say, availability of the reserve is still there, and it continues. So I hope you can give sunlight onto it. Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, you are very ahead of us, Dato', because
if any country can get 15% even, I think he will be the top of the world, the best. So what I'm telling here is that if you want to earn as an equal status, you don't bank on royalty only. For a very simple reason, because they have to make profit, they have to give to the PSC holders, and they have to share, and they have to think about cost file, everything. So the world standard benchmarking is very, very important. The most, my own gut feeling is that if you get 5%, another 4% is good enough, around 10%. I think the highest, if I can recall, is not more than 2%. But what we should get is that not from royalty alone. One is the resources that we share, and we own the resources, which is under 4FO, where we will be the regulator. We are in control of destiny, where we throw ourselves in the platform. The board game is whether you make money or not is your destiny. The other one is that, that's what you mentioned, that the federal is not faith was is because of the end result. The Petronas money they give, you know, every year Petronas gave them 30 billion. The lowest is 16 billion, but now I think 50 billion because not enough. The country is in the bank.
30 billion one-off this year.
This is the share that we should get. We cannot go from the first entrance. And the other thing that we can get is from the sales tax. We have plenty of money from sales tax. 5% is actually big amount. If you talk about 5% of LNG cargo, one cargo is about 250 billion. Easily, every cargo you can earn 2 or 3 million. Okay, thank you very much.
The thing, and if this level of conversation carries on in the sparring partners, you can assure that both partners will go to bed badly battered and bruised, but never settled. Okay? And some may say, oh, we are strange bedfellows. How did we get together in this bed anyway? Please give a thought to what I'm saying. So one of the pressing problems in Western civilization also is this attempt to try to break things up into the smaller bits, and somehow in the process you forgot. Actually, you have to talk about the sum of the parts. In the short psychology, they call it the sum of the parts is not. The whole is something that we as human beings are very equipped to deal with. And in the current complexity that we are facing, this is the part of our thinking and social emotional process that we need to master in facing this new complexity. I was in the lobby of Mandarin Oriental in Kuala Lumpur a couple of months ago, and suddenly one of my former colleagues was passing by. I was talking to somebody, so she passed by the back, then she made a double turn when she realized it was me. Then she said, oh, by the way, Tuan, you know, win. I said, what current issue are you talking about? Let's assuming I understand it, I put it this way. I think the both sides need to talk because both sides are facing what we call it, a point of getting diminishing returns. How many of you have heard of the sigmoid curve? You know the S curve? After a time, it must be replaced by a new S curve. And when that also diminishes, you come to an inflection point, you have to replace it with a new S curve. So I mean, I told this colleague, I said, I think the state government has realized the limits of its old S curve. I'm just wondering whether, you know, Petronas also realizes that in spite of all its successes, and don't let your success prevent you from being better than what you can be. Maybe Petronas needs to look at it also as a new S curve. So then there is grounds for people to really talk together. Okay, with that, I leave that thought with you, and I say, if you fight smart. If you want a solution, it must come with a partnership, and it must come together. Not one person trying to entice another into its sandbox to play, where you have a natural advantage, right? But openly and honestly talking. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Communication problems just now. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Abang is
completely different. That's what I'm trying to emphasize. So the amount of reserve that we have, deep water here in Sarawak, a lot of other places are much more larger than of course the cost is going to be there, but the amount of the income that you're going to have out of it is going to be much more larger, much more higher than the one that you have on land. But that's a good initiative. We're going to walk around it on the land.
Yeah, thanks Dato for the probing questions. It's quite interesting. I got one more question.
You have based on your assessment, either for shallow water or deep water reserve assessment. In the case of Sarawak, given the current volatility of oil price, do you think, based on your assessment, that the current scenario attractive enough to invite investors to Sarawak?
Because of the volumes that we have there. Because normally, when the cost goes up or the oil prices are fluctuating, you are spending whatever you have to spend to produce is still going up, but the price has gone down. So how do you cover your cost? If you find or you make a discovery that the volumes are very large enough, then you'll be able to cover your cost. The good thing about Sarawak is that we still have a lot of the oil and gas still in place. It is still down there waiting to be found. So even though the price is not really good at the moment, we can discover in very huge volumes. That will be enough to cover our cost of exploration, and that will still make some profits from it at the end of the day. So yes, I will invite investors to still come into Sarawak.
Okay, thanks for the good news. The potential is there, but I'll just...
Globally, 80% of reserve are recycling carbonate, not deep water, right? And secondly, most of the deep water discovery recently are in Central South America, Fork Belt, Gulf of Mexico, and maybe in Brazil. Whereas in Malaysia, is mainly in Sabah. In deep water Sarawak, deep water, explore the deep water, that's very challenging. Now, the second comment is, in Sarawak, which is in our backyard, most of the gas reserve, our hydrocarbon reserve are in the central carbonate. Especially with the last 5 to 10 years, there are more than 10 TCF of gas been discovered by the like of Sapura Oil, Sapura in China, and now Sapura OMB, and Petronas Charlie. So, with that discovery in the last 10 years or so, I would have said, I would think the latest contribution from Sarawak gas would be up to about 60% or more now for Malaysia. So I think most of the opportunity are still in the carbonate in Sarawak, offshore Sarawak. So if I have my money, I would still more to like to explore in where the shallow water carbonate rather than the deep water offshore Sarawak, to be honest.
Yeah, what again, what you're saying is that is sooner or later those reservoirs will be depleted. So you want it, you don't want it, you're going to go towards deeper situations. It's going to be either high pressure temperature wells or you're going to go deep waters. What I'm emphasizing here is that we need to see the future. What you are saying is completely correct.
Thank you. What I'm saying is, if I have the money, I would rather invest it in some way of risk. As of now, I think the carbonate, I think there are still about 50 or 60 carbonate difficult to be tested at least. So if I have my money, I would probably invest in doing offshore Sarawak in the carbonate.
I think, thanks gentlemen, it's nice to have these open discussions, but due to time constraints.
Is Asia Pacific, so I look at areas all the way up from Japan and China down to Australia and New Zealand. Operators that I've been involved with in this area have included Shell, very recently Mubadala Petroleum and an SK320 development, the Bagaga development. I'm also involved with JX Nippon, who have a presence in have had a presence in Sarawak, as well as other operators like Repsol, and of course Petronas. Thank you, Petronas. Okay, I'd like to take you through the cost and
studies and so on. Can anyone of you comment on that?
Okay, thank you for the question. So, like the other person said, it's all about the data. Yes, it's true. But the way artificial intelligence and machine learning works is that it depends on the volume or the quantum of data that you have. So if we had access to all of the data released, like the example from Norway given. Norway, the national oil company started, now it's Equinor. They actually put all the data available online. So when I did my master's, for example, in Norway, the data I used was freely available online. You just go there, you take the data, you use it, you generate the results, and then the result is available for any investor to use, and it attracts investors. So yes, AI and machine learning is the new way, and the new way forward, and the new way to go, provided we can have access to the data to use for that. So yes, if the data is available, why not? AI is the next way forward for oil and gas exploration. So we need the data, basically. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Joel. Yeah.
To learn from this, so that when you submit your bid, it is a quality bid. Yeah, and we have done, I think about 3 weeks ago in Miri and Bintulu, we have the launch nationwide from Kuala Lumpur, and there's another session coming very soon. Yeah, we intend to do this on a quarterly basis, and at the same time, in this standard clinic, we also have integrity advocacy. This is very, very key. In procurement or in whatever that we do, integrity is essential. Well, then, we have zero tolerance to bribery and corruptions. We do have whistleblowing website. If you are approached and if you know of such incidences. So why do we have this integrity advocacy when we give the tender clinic? Because we want all our vendors that you must win your tender on integrity, on good governance. Yeah? So that is the cradle of our procurement. Now, these are just snapshots of all our engagement, all our activities in Sarawak. Not just in Sarawak, we go nationwide. Yeah? We have our licensing clinic, we have engagements on the tender clinics, we have engagement on performance, we have engagement with the business owner, MLD, ABF, Charigali, and so forth. Yeah? And this every year we have this continuous engagement. All right. Now this is the second part, nation building to the vendor development project. This is one of silver jubilee celebration of vendor development. Vendor development is under the custodian of was under the custodian of Ministry of International Trade and Industry, MITI. Now it has been moved to MED, Ministry of Entrepreneur and Development. So for Petronas and all other GLCs, when we implement the VDP program, we stand guided by the term, conditions, and criteria that was set by MITI and now MED. So before I go any further, so Nurin here will play the montage. It is better to watch a video because it paints 1,000 pictures. Yeah. this vendor within a specific period where we handhold this vendor to give them the technical expertise, to get help from Petronas and the technical help from Petronas so that they can grow, and to assist them in the bookkeeping, in the cash management, to open up doors with our users. And normally in our VDP program, when we award it, let's say it is a specific period of 5 years. Within that 5 years, this vendor do not need to bid. That's what we call incubation period. So you need not worry about bidding, but you need to focus to make sure that you perform well. This is a very rigorous program. Yeah? You have to be tahan lasa to go through this program, because we need to build resilient vendors. Yeah? You kena ada semangat yang kental and willing to roll up your sleeve, work hard, yeah, to be successful in this program. So we have a rigorous process from scope selection, vendor selection, to development, to graduation. So bila kita select the scope, it is not any scope. Yeah? It has to be business requirement, it has to be sustainable. Ya, ada orang datang jumpa saya, dia minta nak buat BDP supply aircon. Jadi saya kata minta maaf lah ya. So kadang-kadang ada orang datang, dia dah beli computer system and ask us to use it for VDP. Saya kata tak boleh lah. Ya. So there is a selections of scope, and then we go to the selections of vendor. Nadi VDP ni adalah the entrepreneur, orang, the usahawan tu. It's not the company, it is the person. Because that person must have a burning spirit in him or her nak berjaya. So in our vendor selection, we have apa orang kata, exams, orang kata, interview. And from this interview, you can gauge whether this person is a real entrepreneur. Kalau you orang yang betul-betul, kita ni orang betul-betul entrepreneur yang nak berjaya, you can listen in the interview from the voice, from dia punya semangat, that this is going to be, insyaAllah, a successful vendor. Yeah? So that's an interview, and once there is an interview, there is an award. Lately, saya kata selama saya menjaga BDP, I make sure when there is an award, saya yang sign dan saya yang jumpa that entrepreneur, because when we grant you that award, it is not giving a contract. It is handing you an amanah. There's a big difference. Bukan contract, tapi amanah. Because on your shoulder, on my shoulder, is an amanah to nation build this country, including Sarawak. Yeah? It is not about enrichment. It is about carrying an amanah. So, and there is a graduation. Banyak GLC, VDP program tak ada graduation. But it is not a good thing, because it builds complacency from bapa ke anak and whatnot, and you will not be competitive. So for us, we have a graduation, and my FAQ frequently asked question, how do you determine the duration? It is all about whatever your capital, your invested capital, what is your profit, we run it through. When do you break even? We give you a bit of a breathing ground so that you can grow. So if you break even in 5 years, we will give you likely about 6 to 7 years. So that's the period that we call an incubation. For those of you who have been given this is an opportunity of a lifetime that cannot be wasted. Next. Okay. These are the list of Sarawakian VDPs, those who have graduated. and I highlighted in green. I think Serba Dynamic and Dayang have gone to be public listed. Yeah. And we have appointed, these are the 5 currently undergoing VDP. The recent one is Bumi Prima. Encik Iskandar is not here. I was looking around for him. He is from Miri. Yeah? And we hope he will. He's a young man hungry for success. And we all wish him very well. And he got AODD scopes that is to fulfill for the entire, not Sarawak sahaja, the entire Malaysia punya requirement. Yeah? So these are the success story that we have done over the last 25 years, and we shall continue to do so. Next. Okay. Now, after 25 years, yeah, Petronas dalam setahun kita boleh produce 3 ke 4 VDP because the intensity and the rigor of the process. So 3 to 4 setahun, yeah, it's not fast enough. So what we have said, at the juncture of our silver jubilee, kita kata we need everyone in the ecosystem to help. Untuk kita berjaya dalam industri itu, it is not about one company. It is about everybody. It takes the entire village to help, and everyone in the ecosystem to chip in. So that's give birth to VDP X. That X, okay, that X though is a multiplier. Yeah. So who are our enablers? These are our partners who have grown big over the years. They are from the PACs, Exxon, Hess, K-pop, Repsol, Murphy. The one in the blue dash, these are the PACs who are operating in the Sarawak waters. And we have OGSC vendors, the big one. And I tell you, I have nothing but praise for Serba Dynamic. They are one of the first who kata we are willing to join this program. Yeah, so we have all this. This includes, these are the big main contractors who have grown to be successful, and they are willing to partner with Petronas to give back. Energy receive, energy return. Yeah, so zaman kita susah, Petronas tolong. Bila kita dah jadi besar, please help others who are small so that they can become bigger like you. Yeah, so this is the multiplier effect. Instead of 3 to 4 vendors in a year, we can produce, insyaAllah, 20. And we also have tied up with enablers, ACCA. Banyak company kita tak reti nak manage cash flow, so we work with ACCA who have a list of chartered accountant who can look at the cash management and look at the account to do audits for the MIMOS and DEX, SEDA and all that. Yeah. So today, I think about a year dah ni, we have 3 anchors who have successfully appointed 6 VDP vendors who have given 5 scopes. Next. Okay, these are the pictures. It worth 1,000 words. Serba was one of the first. In March, not so long ago, in Kuching. He has signed up, Serba Dynamic has signed up, witnessed by the Chief Minister, 2 VDPX. Encik Rosdin from Rocktac, I think he's around here somewhere. There he is. Alright. Encik Rosdin have won many accolades of good performance from Petronas. Yeah? And Encik Muhammad from East Wing. So insyaAllah, use this opportunity. One day you become another Serba Dynamic, and we are all, especially me, I will be very proud of you. Yeah? Okay. Thanks. Alright. Now, we have moved on into another VDPX program. This is to future-proof our OGSE. As you know, you hear about digitalization, you hear about innovation. So this is called VDP Innovation Technology, in short, VDP Innotech. Next. All right. Okay. For those of you who are interested to do this, the source of potential VDP for Innotech is through this. You can do you can get the QR code there. You got to register at Technology Challenge or Technology Marketplace. These are the two portals that is under Petronas Research and Technology. Yeah? The criteria is the same as like any other VDP. You must be an owner-operator, Bumiputra, minimum 51%. For now, that's the criteria that is still set by MITI and MED. And you must be an owner-operator. Yeah? Now, the only difference is that in this innovation and technology, you have an IP or joint IP. Yeah? We already appointed one under this, and there are more to come. All right. Okay, this is the third part of my presentation. Tadi the introducer says I am from corporate project. Corporate project was born out of crisis in 2013 and 14 when the oil price crashed. Yeah, it took everyone. No one was spared. Petronas, the vendors, especially the small SME vendors, terasa. Yeah. And for us, how do we ride this storm? How do you turn this crisis into opportunities? Industry issue that we have is that when it's coming in June, where we are focusing on 1, 2, 3, what country? 9. These are 9 countries. So we will bring in, inshallah, yeah, all the government officials from all this country, Petronas, any consultant. I have very good team here, you know, yeah, young, intelligent people here. So this is done in-house. And these are collections of demand outlook for for Innovation Gateway at Petronas, for tadi VDP Innovation and Technology. So any inquiry here, and this is our corporate project. If you have any question on industry, on any Petronas activity outlook and all that, you can contact us here. Yeah? Is that my last slide, Miri?
State GLC of Sarawak. So hopefully we can utilize it. Okay, my station is to share about this Petronas vendor financing program. The MOU with Petronas was signed in May last year, and Alhamdulillah, after less than 12 months, we have already approved a total of 201 million for 46 customers, and we are targeting maybe around 300 this year. So these are some news on this program. So these are the 4 main objectives of this program. How we achieve this objective is by first we reduce the time taken to process the financing. We are targeting to get it approved by 2 weeks upon receiving all the required documents. We have lowered down the requirement for upfront collateral. Basically, we have make it to have zero upfront collateral, just guaranteed by SGBP. We also reduce, there is no sinking fund under this program. Contract from awarded, in this case it's Petronas or any other subsidiaries. Bank will get it verified with Petronas and bank finance the contract. When the proceed come to our project account, we will deduct the outstanding, and whatever balance will be limited to the customer's account. The requirement for the financing, first you must be registered under Petronas, of course. You must be profitable at least 2 for the past 3 years and have a tangible net worth positive. However, although these are the main criteria, we on case-to-case basis may be able to appeal and accommodate whenever in case-to-case basis that the customer is not fulfilled with the conditions. The type of contract that we focus is of course on like I mentioned earlier, the collateral is just SGBP guarantee and directors guarantees. Normal contract financing, customer may be required to at least have to put upfront collateral of 10% minimum of the line, and also sinking fund. But under this program, we have moved away with that requirement. So imagine, let's say for 1 million bank guarantee, you are only required to pay the SGBP guarantee, which costs you, let's say for 1 million, your cost is just 7,000. Whereas normal contract financing, they may require you to place at least 20 or 30%. Both here, we are more than happy to answer any your queries. I'm from HQ, but I'm in charge for Sabah and Sarawak. We have also Mazros who in charge in Kuching lah. So if you have any other questions or any query, please feel free to ask us. This vendor financing is special for Petronas. However, we are also keen to do any other financing requirement. Let's say you have any contract with Shells or whatever PACs, we are still can finance you, but not under this special program lah. This special program is tailor-made so that in a fast program, very lenient in terms of.
Let's choose a title to make some attraction out of it. So that is where they choose the title Sebegini from Bintulu to the world. So they bold and put the capital to the word of world, just to get some attention there. So with that, I will not have a great presentation like what Petronas has done, complete with video, complete with montage and so on. But it's purely a sharing of experience, and I hope you can tap onto some of the attractive journeys of entrepreneur that myself and also Tuan Haji Kadir Sahib, Dato' Panggil Daun, and also the entire management team
who has gone through for the past 26 years, I would say, to position Sebegini to what it is today. And I also would like to take this opportunity to say that we are not the best among all of you here, because I know that there are a lot of big companies, prominent entrepreneurs who is also present in this session. It's just that we were given a longer time because we sponsor a bit more. So the short time is slightly more. It's not to say that we are better than any one of you. It's just that we pay some extra to get this short time. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's go through the first slide here. Unfortunately, it is not that clear. But what about what I would like to highlight here is to put the attention to the event of 1997. Yeah? The company was incorporated in 1993. So if you look at 2019, we are entering into the 26 years of our operation. We just completed of our silver jubilee, 25 years of the incorporation of the company. And 1997 is a very important milestone in the journey of the establishment of the company, because there is the year when we were being appointed into the program of Petronas BDP program. And as Petronas has presented out just now, the BDP program is an incubation program where it gives the opportunities for qualifying company to give them the opportunity to build up their business foundation, the experience, and of course, more importantly, also not to mention is the financial contribution for the jobs that has been done. So I think I would say that Sebegini has been lucky. We completed the first 5 years, and we were given an extended tenure exceeding 5 years. So more or less we completed off after 10 years. And I would say that this is the important milestone that helps Sebegini to position itself. Number one, as a company, they have the financial capability, though it is based on a negotiated basis. So we have a certain agreed percentage of the profitability there. Not to say that it's very lucrative, very good profitability. Approximately, it's talking about a gross GP of 15 to 20% of the actual cost incurred for the respective jobs. But I think for me, who goes out to meet up with customer and so on, the track records that we built up with this opportunity that Petronas OPUs, at that time is called as OPUs, which stands for Operating Process Unit, which allow us to practice and also to carry out the necessary capabilities in the scope of the appointment, which is during that time scope under maintenance of rotating equipment for plant turnaround. So if you are familiar with plant turnaround is one of the toughest contract compared to any other scope. It's not necessary for rotating equipment only, it also includes for static equipment and other things. Because turnaround is a time very short given to the contractor to come in, and by hook or by crook you must complete it within that time that is given. So it's talking about you are having 24 hours, you have to complete it, failing which you will be penalized because the asset owner would like to start up the plant immediate ASAP. Yeah? Because their loss in terms of the production is talking about millions of ringgit Malaysia gone. So I think that gives us a very strong foundation to grow the company. And I would say that people ask Sebegini, who is your godfather? Because it is a tendency in the Malaysian culture that successful entrepreneurs, business company, and so on must have a godfather behind him. Godfather here means that there must be a strong politician or dominant figure behind, or a tycoon and so on, supporting the respective company which is doing quite successfully in the business community. But what we told them is our godfather is basically the determinations and our ambition to emerge and to be successful as an entrepreneur. None of us, the founder, myself, Haji Abdul Qadir Sahib or Pangeran Amandaud, are rich people. We do not also have a strong political network and connection. And I would say that it's purely based on a culture and a feeling that we want to prove ourselves and we want to be successful. So that is some history background of the incorporation 1993-1997, which is very important to us. And as time goes by, like what I mentioned, incubation programs of VDP or Petronas will not really make you financially very strong, because the profitability that is allowed for you is being more or less limited to a certain amount. And I would say that if you want, and I think all the entrepreneurs here will agree that if you want just a GP of something like 15 and 20%, it will not be really sufficient to grow the company and expand it to position itself as a global entity. Because when you want to become a global entity, going around doing business, marketing and so on is very expensive. Going into other countries, the accommodation, the transportations and a lot of other things. So it will not be sufficient. So we struggle quite a lot. And like what I mentioned in some of the sharing sessions that I have, we have gone through everything in our life. In the sense that I myself has gone into the kandang orang masalah because I did not pay the EPF of the workers. It's not that I don't want to pay, I cannot pay, I don't have money to pay, the company does not have money to pay. Go back to the shareholders, the shareholder says that there is no more extra to be put in. So we have gone through that kind of situation. And when it comes to all these contract workers, they are not like us, which they understood that you'll be paid at the end of the month. A lot of them, after working for 3 days, they will come to approach you, saying that he needs some advance. And he said that because my father passed away, my grandfather passed away, sometimes my sister passed away, 2 times he mentioned. Because he also forgot that he has told us that the sister has passed away. So it's just a final reason, because they are also in need of financial requirements. Yeah. So it's a different situation. So cash flow is always the issues that comes in that more or less put a lot of pressures onto entrepreneurs. And then what more to say, working with big organizations that have a lot of procedures. It doesn't mean that you put in the invoice and next day you'll be paid, no. So it's talking about average 90 days from the time you create that invoice to get the certificate of completion from different level and so on, until it goes to the finance department, it will take roughly around 90 days. So cash flow is a problem. So we were saying and telling ourselves, if we are going to continue in this kind of situations, we will not be able to achieve the end goals of end goals of what we want. Because we explained previously the logo of Sebedynamic is a globe, and one of the things is we want to position Sebedynamic globally in every part of the world. So it's a very, very big goal, very big mission and vision that we have set up. So based on this, we were saying that we must work and think of a way how we can get further fundings. Going to the bank will not be sufficient. So we need a different way how we can raise funds. And of course, there are a lot of approach which we can look at. Seed funding, crowdfunding, IPOs, and so on and so forth. So we decided that we want to go on the path of what we call it the initial public offer. So to get the story short, we were successful in getting the company approved to be listed in Bursa Malaysia in the year 2017. And of course, there are quite a number of parties involved. The institutions of the government also comes in to help, among others, which is institutions like Traju and a few other programs like SJJP, Scheme Jejak Jaya, Bumi Putra. So all those comes in and helps to make the applications and the submissions successful. And for us, 2017 is another important milestone in the history of the making of Sebedynamic. Because when we got ourselves listed, this is where we got some significant fundings coming in for us to go. And of course, in this particular presentations here, that we make a mark at 2019, saying that we got the first operation and maintenance job in Uzbekistan. Because during that time, Uzbekistan, we have not entered it. But let's look at the other aspect of our global footprint at the moment. There are a few informations over here. What we would like to share of Sebedynamic of today. So, just a very summarized facts of Sebedynamic is 26 years experience in rotating equipment, and that has been our core competency from the first day of the inception of the company. And we diversified ourselves also into EPCC. Why? Because when we start doing rotating equipment maintenance and so on, the customer start asking us, can you do this, can you do that? Because the customer wants it to be a one-stop center or one-stop service provider. So it makes the contracting strategy easy, so that it does not need to coordinate too many disciplines. They carve up that responsibility to the contractor. So that is where we are saying that we also need to get into other capabilities. So that is where we manage in the 26 years of the journey, push back 12 years, we have started ourselves positioning our company also as a EPCC entity, which means that we have the ability to engineer, we have the ability to procure, we have the ability to commission, and we have the ability to construct, and we have the ability to commission EPCC capabilities. Of course, some of the capabilities we outsource it also to other third parties. But as a company, we consolidate these abilities so that the company has the entire EPCC capabilities to offer it to the customer. We also would like to explain that in terms of our positioning by MPRC, Malaysian Petroleum Resource Corporation, the ranking of Sebedynamic as a oil and gas entity moved from positions 7 to position 4, to the 4th position in 2017. Yeah? The ranking for 2018 has not come up yet. So we have made improvement in terms of the positioning. Other than that, there are some highlights shown over there in terms of the order book. As of February 2019, we have managed to close the order book of Ringgit Malaysia 8.3 billion. So this 8.3 billion is order books or contracts that we have secured globally in different parts of the world. Yeah? So where are they? This is where we are as of today. And one of the things, when we get ourselves listed onto the Bursa Malaysia, we are saying that we need to position Sebegini as a global entity. And people is saying, why are you so greedy? Why are you so ambitious? Why do you need to do that? Because our rationale is this. We are saying that if we only depend on Malaysia as our market, there are a high and low in terms of the economic situation of the respective country. There is no country that can really grow every year and with full opportunities of jobs and so on. Even as big as China is also heated up and it also go for a downturn. So what we are saying here is we need a bigger playground. So with this, we are saying that at one hand, we have a very dominant, big, giant global player. Among others, I would say people like General Electric, people like Siemens, people like Wood, and a few other international players. So we are saying that if we want to compete, it's okay. This is a healthy competition. G does not need to be to get angry. Wood does not need to be get angry, and so on. I met some of them, and so on. We understand each other because at certain jobs we bid and we compete. At certain jobs we collaborate. It's quite normal. It's just that we have to make an agreement. So if we are just a Malaysian entity company and we don't have our positioning in other parts of the world, then it will be very difficult for us to compete with all these big international companies. So we are saying that we must make ourselves operate in positions in other parts of the world. So how do we do it? One thing is we set up legal entity in the respective country that we want to go. But if you want to do that, it will be very time consuming. So one of the fastest ways is we identify companies, we synergize with our capabilities, and they have the understanding of what we intend to do, and they are agreeable to it, so we go for acquisitions of those type of company. And again, quite a lot of people question us, even the CEOs of banks, investment consultants, and so on. And they are saying that, what are you guys doing? Because, for example, like La Rapida is a technology company in Switzerland that we acquired. We show it later on. We only acquired 20% of the company. So what are you trying to prove to the investor? Because with 20% you cannot control the company, you cannot determine the directions of the company. But there are some companies which we become the driver, in which we are the single largest shareholder. For example, like CSE Global, it's a listed company in Stock Exchange of Singapore. We bought into about 24.8% of the shares. We are the single largest shareholder. We have 2 board seats inside there, and we are in the positions to determine the directions of the company. So it's a mixture of different arrangements that we have done. So back to the question just now. We make a few analysis and lesson learned. We have seen a lot of Malaysian companies that go out and do acquisitions and they control 100% of the company. So when you buy and control 100% of the company, meaning that the previous shareholders, they have done their job, they have got your money. And a lot of them will leave the company, and a lot of the key people inside the company also left. So you are just taking over a company with track records, but the resources of the people is no more there. And the locality of the support is also no more there, because you need local support. So that is why when we do all this analysis and so on, for example, like one case, the company has a sizable contract when they acquired that company. And they are the driving force for that company. And a lot of the previous employee, the existing employee inside there, they are expatriate. And it's a Malaysian company coming in. They feel the synergy of the culture is not there, so they resign. So when they resign, the subject matter expert is no more in the organizations. So the contractual obligations is still there, because the contract is signed with the company. And as a result of that, the contract cannot be delivered, the penalty clause comes in, and it eats up a lot of the profitability of that company. And it is up to the holding company, which is the listed entity that comes in to acquire. So it does not mean that when you become 100% shareholders, it is very good. Because when you are out of your country, you are a foreign entity. And the local people will have a better advantage against you, which is a foreign entity. So back to make the story short, in all those exchange of strategy that we have done, if we are not the controlling entity, we make an agreement that we are allowed to bring this technology into Malaysia or into another area or country which we are very strong in, which they does not have the ability to penetrate that market segment. So as a result of that, they are happy because they also captured a bigger, wider scope of the market. For sebegini, we feel that we are also lucky because we can get that technology transferred into the country of Malaysia and other locations which we are positioned quite strongly, especially in the Middle East. So more or less, as a result of all these things, what we are saying is sebegini is a global entity now, with its positioning in Asia-Pacific country, with its positioning in Africa continent. We have our presence over in the North and South of America, to be more specific in Guyana, in Mexico, and also in Houston. And recently, we have acquired Innova. Innova also has operations in California. And because of all this network that we have built up, and later on you will see that we are embarking in a big way into the digitalization technology and Industrial Revolution 4.0. And why we do it? Because this is the technology that needs to be mastered and available in any company if they want to be a leader globally. We will touch on that later on. And with that kind of positioning, in other parts, for example, like in Central and South Asia, we are also in Europe. Of course, Middle East, the 6th country, more than 18 years we have been there. And all these penetrations and positioning helps us to make a statement that people cannot deny that we are a global international company. So the other point that we would like to share here will be the business model has to be a business model which is sustainable. This is very important. We see that sometimes a company has been very successful for certain years and after that it collapsed because the business model is not sustainable. So what we are doing here is, the important thing that we always tell people is, it ties into it. So for example, like sebegini, we started ourselves as a MRO company for rotating equipment. We started off that. on that area. And we are still pursuing and expanding and improving our capabilities in that area after 26 years. It's not completed, we have not completed the journey yet. So meaning to say that, that is very important. And if you look at the business activity column, we are saying that operation and maintenance, we just rename it because of the industrial terminology and so on. Operation and maintenance is one of our core revenue drivers. In actual fact, it's majority maintenance. Operations is here the asset owner. A business which is recession-proof. Quite a number of people will not agree, but we are adamant and we say that maintenance is a recession-proof business. Why is that so? Because every asset owner, regardless of how the economic situation is, they have to maintain the equipment. Because the equipment is where it produces the production that is needed. So, meaning to say that it is a recession-proof. Unless the entire asset has stopped running, then of course there is no more maintenance. But in whatever situations, for example, like when the oil gas has dropped quite a lot, the production platform is still running, the downstream petrochemical plant is still running, refineries is still running and so on. So the maintenance activities is still there. So we have gone through, I would say, the 2 cycles of economic downturn globally. We survived, and very much because of the maintenance as our core area of expertise or specializations. EPCC is very much, I would say, tying up to the expenses related to CapEx, green projects and so on. So it normally will tie it up to the, in 2018, our management achievement in terms of the total sales and revenue globally, we achieved 3.27 billion ringgit Malaysia. And we have announced this to Bursa, and we are going to finalize the audited figure. And as of now, it is more or less than 2% difference, which is acceptable within the regulatory requirements set up by Bursa. So, meaning to say that based on that revenue, operation and maintenance still covers 85%. What happened is that we expanded our scope and capability. When during the days of incubation, we are just a site overhaul investment that we put into Bintulu, what we call it Bintulu Integrated Energy Hub, is a core center of excellence, which we term it, where we invested and parked all the latest state-of-art technology, equipments and so on, where we can carry out a very high precision types of machining, repair and so on. So, and the other capabilities that we have expanded in the scope of MRO is the manufacturing of parts. So whatever, if you look at that business leader, the client base are majority focused onto those who has the ability to pay, meaning to say the customer that are good paymaster. Who are there? The oil and gas asset owner, the power generation industry, and also the water treatment asset owner. So the other one is the geographical exposure. You will see that we have covered Malaysia, Southeast Asia, Central and South Asia, Middle East, Europe, Africa. So the reasons why I have mentioned just now initially is we need a bigger playground, because if let's say Malaysia economy has not been that friendly or that successful, we can focus into Middle East. Middle East we have 6 countries. Negotiate ensure survey that we want the EPCC component, the EPCC contract, and to the best of what we want, we will also negotiate once the asset is up running. We want to take the operation and maintenance. So what it means is, for example, like a hydropower plant in Kota Marudu, 30 megawatt. We are the EPCC contractor. Contract value is roughly around 200 million ringgit Malaysia. So meaning to say that we already have that profitability generated from the EPCC, and we acquired 30% as an asset owner approximately around 12 million. So the profit from the EPC actually has covered already the equity stake that we are buying. And we sign up a 21 years of operation and maintenance. So what we are saying here is, the investment into buying the equity is paid from the profitability of the EPC. When the EPC runs, you already have cash flow coming in to make sure that this project is feasible. And when the asset is up running, we are getting the money or inflow to the company from the operation and maintenance contract plus the dividend as a shareholder. So these are things which we have brainstormed internally, and it become a business model of Sebegini moving forward. To achieve the reputations and positioning like what I mentioned just now, the local network is required so that the customer will feel at ease. If they award this contract to you, you will be able to provide the necessary service to fulfill what the contracts calls for. So at the moment, we have our infrastructure set up in Johor, in Shah Alam, in Paka, and then we have Bintulu, we have Miri, we have Labuan, we have Kota Kinabalu. This is what we have at the moment, domestic. Yeah? And like what I mentioned, we have to demonstrate that if we want to become a global entity, we need to meet certain criteria which people can accept. When you are an international global entity, you must have that ability, capability, facilities. So we invested into setting up what we call it as Bintulu Integrated Energy Hub. Is approximately a 250 million investment there. What do we have over here? If you go to the site at the moment, the MRO sections is more or less 90% completed. We are expecting by June and third quarter with the equipment coming in, it is a full-fledged maintenance, repair, overhaul facility that has the capability to carry out the MRO for gas turbine, for steam turbine, compressors, and other static equipment. And the other part, 15 acres, we are building a full-fledged of fabrications facility from A to Z, all computerized. And we believe that this investment will help to provide the necessary support to the growth of the industry in Sarawak itself. Locations is, there is a locations here. If you look at it, it is located behind Petronas LNG or behind Shell MDS, and we have the expectations and hope that this facility will give the service to Murphy and also the Bintulu onshore receiving facility. Petronas, of course, for the LNG operations, the Bintulu crude oil terminal, APF, and of course Shell MDS is beside there, plus Sarawak Energy, which has quite a number of power plants around there. And with this kind of capabilities and facilities set up, we hope that we can also pull in jobs from the neighboring regional country, which is basically Indonesia, Brunei, and other parts of the world, if it has the necessary and opportunity which is given to us. So with this, I will say that a lot of the asset owner, when it comes to high-end repair, it is in Singapore. So it will be a healthy competition, and we hope that it can also help the nation, the country, Malaysia, in the positioning itself as a high-end technical capability community or nation. Another investment that we have about 3.5 kilometers is using certain road to repeat gate number 2. So those who are familiar over there, so it's very nearby. 3.5 kilometers, if you use a car to drive there, is roughly around 15 minutes, 20 minutes, so it's very nearby. So what does this facility has? people question sebegini, you are not focused, you are not, you are diversifying yourself into a property developers and so on. We said, no, that is not the reasons why we are doing that. We are saying that we are focused, we are doing things which we need to uplift sebegini so that it has that global international image. So what we are doing here is, we are setting up a plant turnaround village where it will be a center to support all the turnaround requirements of rapid. And I will say that, oh, it's 5 minutes and the play card is up already. But it will not be 100% to be utilized by sebegini. We are opening up to other industrial players and so on. You can buy, you can lease and so on. But what we will be going to own is only 9 acres, which is a complete area where we want to set up the full-fledged MRO capabilities. And we will have, if you look at the end there, that is the PICC, Pengalaman International Commercial Center. The idea is, this is a full-fledged commercial center where you can buy apartment, full-service apartments. There will be banks, there will be clinics, there will be supermarket, and other amenities. The main idea is this facility will house a lot of technical expertise from overseas also. So we want to put it in such a way that they feel that they are where it can give the necessary recognitions to other international companies that there is just kind of company and teamwork in Malaysia which can build up this facility meeting the international global specification. So these are some of the acquisitions that we have done. La Rapida is a Switzerland company. And Shrimp Serba, this is manufacturing of steam turbine. We have sold 5 units over to the sugar and palm oil industry over in India. We started off in India first, and it has the capability to manufacture steam turbine up to 30 megawatt. Cotec Energy, this is a technical partner. We does not own any shares. Their capabilities and expert and knowledge is talking about 40 years of hands-on MRO experience on different type of gas turbine in India and other parts of the world. When I mention India, I know you will have some skeptical feeling. How many of you there, 1 minute, how many of you there to when you graduate as a PhD, they to come out saying that I can design a steam turbine? But if you look at the Indian engineers, they come out, they are daring enough to design and experience and so on. So it's just that the working environments sometimes force all these people to do it, and from there, that is where they learn and capture their technical capabilities. But Malaysia, like what I always mentioned, we are very pampered. So we does not have that braveness to really come up and say, yes, I learned thermodynamics, I learned fluid dynamics, and the basic theory is there. I will design a steam turbine. I'm putting the challenge to you. So OMT is an Italian company. Why Italian? Because you know that Switzerland is more expensive. Italy, Milan is just nearby there. They are less expensive. So combinations of these integrations will help you to give a more competitive and a bigger profitability to the parts that we want to sell internationally. So other than that, these are some of the other achievements. And one important thing that I would like to share here is this particular graph here is very sentimental and instrumental to server dynamics. If you look at it, it shows that in 2016, that's where when the oil price crashed to something like below $30 per barrel. It's basically shown over here. And when the price goes down, you will see that the productions of the oil goes up, because it's the theory of the production, the demand. Yeah? When you produce more, then of course the demand will goes the other way around, which will make the price goes down. So that's why the price now is going up higher, because OPEC has made sure that they want a certain cut in the production. Petronas is also part of the so-called agreed approach. So, one more minute. Sorry, this stop sign. This particular situation, at that juncture of 2016, that is where we go out to list the company. And this is one of the biggest challenges, because when you say that you want to list a company, and it is a time when the oil price is down, the oil industry is in a very bad situation, not bullish, and so on. And a lot of even the syndications of all the investment bankers and is advising us you better postpone and delay it. But we insist that we will go out and do the roadshow and convince the investor that the understanding of the oil and gas industry has to
be successful as serba dynamic. Di tuan-tuan dan puan-puan, kita orang Sarawak memang boleh. Sarawakians can do it, correct? Are you proud to be Sarawakian?
Sort of like interested in, or they have passion in. And I can tell you that mainly of those entrepreneurs who won the grants are coming from F&B's industries. So what we want to change right now, or we like to entice a little bit more, is that we are now putting forth certain criteria of categories, so that whoever is going to get that grant is basically going to be part and partial of Shell Upstream supply chain overall as well. So that we will actually build that development bits of it, and the continuities to actually get them grooming as well as growing into the direction that is actually noted to be shared across with other, other industries perhaps, or other operators around in Malaysia. Yeah. So for LifeWire program, it's actually a very, very big success. Specifically last year, what happened is that so far for Shell, this is a global program. Last year itself, it is actually the very first time that Shell globally hold a very prestigious award session too. So it is almost similar in terms of the process-wise, incubations, we give them coaching, we do follow-up with them after getting the grants. So there's definitely a lot of rooms to basically join the Shell supply chain within this particular programs itself. Yeah. On how we are basically carrying out the amanah itself, yeah, as Puan Noliza mentioned. So as one of the PAC anchors, yeah, out of the 6 anchors, so we are currently in the process of learning as well. So Petronas VDS, yeah, the vendor development section, they have been doing this for the last 25 years. So please bear with us because currently we are also in the process of learning by means of actually start looking into some of this process. Yeah. So I can safely say right now there is actually one potential one which is already moving to stage 3. So I'm very thankful for that. And currently we are also looking at a few others. Perhaps there's another 4 or 5 that we're looking into the so-called introductory part of it, where we're doing our assessment currently. So for this particular VDPX program, what we would like to sort of like emphasize here is that it's not going to be an easy one. Yeah, definitely it's not going to be an easy one. But for Shell, as part of our state's service, so hence we are definitely focusing very much and in tuning it based on the local capability that we have in-house. So specifically for Sarawak, we have a group of requirements that we look into, a group of so-called potential service providers, suppliers, and so on and so forth. The same process is also undertaking to look after the Sabah side. Yeah? So indeed, this is that people are still not aware that there are a lot more needs, a requirement offshore or onshore with regards to upstreams. Yeah, we are always, being asked the question about when are you going to give us contracts? Yeah, when is the tender coming up? Yeah, but then obviously when we come to the table to start discussion, most of the thing we hear is that, yeah, I've already been licensed for the last 5 years, but I never got any jobs. When we start going into deeper on the conversation to say, so what exactly you have been doing so far? And they say, we are waiting for you to send us the RFQs. We are waiting for you to send us the tenders. And that's about it. So I think it's about time, yeah, basically that mindset of spoon feeding to be taken away right immediately. Yeah, there's always means for you to come and knock on our doors. There's always means for you to find resources on where you can get all these informations and input for you to be prepared yourself. It's very unfortunate that I don't have my opportunity funnel slide, the colorful ones. I think some of you have seen it before, which give you a little bit of an aspiration on where you could potentially be as part and partial of those supply chain itself within Shells. Yeah. So I hope I made justice with regards to some of the programs or the how. Shell here is actually opening up the door, the opportunity doors or the means for you to come and join our supply chain families. There is no such things as stupid questions. There's no such things as, I don't know where to get information. So in Shell itself, we do have the local content core team. So yeah, everybody's taking pictures now. All right. So I'm part of the team, and then I do have one of my team members here today with me to support me. Yeah. And if you do have any question with regards to how would you like to come in and join, I think we have a lot of platforms to basically do that. Yeah, come in and talk to us. You can email us. Yeah. But do bear in mind, when you come to see us, don't come and ask, when is the tender? But I believe there's a lot more that you can actually talk about with regards to what you can actually do and what we can actually help you to be, going forwards once the discussion kick off. Yeah, as Puan Noliza said earlier, it's not an easy journey. Yeah, there's definitely a lot of work to basically be carried out. So I saw the stop sign. So I hope with this, I do give you guys a little bit of a glimpse on how Shell basically open up our doors, to support the locals, service providers, the local contractors coming forward. Don't be afraid to talk to us. We're not going to bite you. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, the applause for
collaboration. There will be some value added there. And then the other thing that took me quite a while to rationalize this. When I was a young executive going up and down in Japan, I saw a lot of LNG tankers moving around, and that is none other than domestic gas. And this is the area that you mentioned about RGT, and I've been trying to promote this RGT long time. Of course, the capacity for Kuching is small, or even for Sarawak, and for the pipelines. You have to really look at the feasibility. And I was involved in RGT, most of Petronas project in London, in UK, in Cardiff, and also in the first Malaysian one in Malacca. We looked into open access for anybody to participate. That is what we call open gated. And I was a consultant for this open gated for one company. But it didn't materialize because the imported LNG is very expensive compared with domestic. And I think with that entrance of gas into our system, I think we can do a lot of things. That is where the value added and business spillover can bring us up. That's what Saudara Muhammad mentioned. We want to do it nice, optimize it, but we do it properly. I think the key word is that this is what we are. Because if you talk about LNG or gas now, there are plenty. And Singapore came early in the 1990s when they start this RGT and a hub for gas trading. And the other thing that I would like to add, one is on the other business, which I think will strike your thinking on this stringent regulation of MAPOL Annex 6 regarding SOGSE and NOx. And where Singapore is moving ahead of us to equip the vessel, the ship, to run on LNG. Because in the Seka area, they are not allowed to burn fuel oil anymore. So this is the opportunity of what we call LNG bunkering. This one. The other one is